My dear children, today's topic is the revolt of 1857 or the first war of Indian independence. The century after 1757 witnessed a number of popular and localized revolts against the British rule. The mentioning of this year 1757 is very important because the Britishers started ruling India actually in the year 1757 after the Battle of Plassey. In fact, Indians could never reconcile themselves to British subjugation. The loss of independence, foreign intrusion into local autonomy, innovations in the administrative system, excessive land revenue demands, dislocation of self-sufficient economy was felt in different parts of the country, and different people they resented against the British rule. These revolts can be categorized into three groups. The revolts which took place before the revolt of 1857. There were the peasants' revolts, religious revolts, Wahhabi movement, and there were some tribal revolts also. Now I am going to explain you about the causes of the great uprising which led to the outbreak of the first war of Indian independence. These causes are broadly divided into political, economic, socio-religious, military, and the immediate cause. I will start with the political causes. Under political causes, the policy of annexation which was followed by Lord Dalhousie created the resentment, the anger in the ruling class of India. Dalhousie's policy of annexation. Lord Dalhousie's policy of annexation caused a wave of resentment. He adopted various measures, foul or fair, to expand and consolidate the British Empire. Under this policy of annexation, the most popular one was doctrine of lapse, which means if the ruler of a dependent state should die without any heir, his adopted son would not succeed him, but that state would lapse or pass back to the British Company, and the adopted son would inherit only the personal property of the deceased ruler. On the pretext of this doctrine of lapse, these following states were annexed: Satara, Jaitpur, Sambalpur, Bhagat, Udaipur, Jhansi, Nagpur. Then Awadh was annexed on the pretext of misgovernance, maladministration by Lord Dalhousie. Then the treatment given to the last Mughal ruler, Bahadur Shah Zafar, who was under the protection of the company, received a pension from them. In 1849, Dalhousie announced that the successors of Bahadur Shah would not be allowed to stay in the Red Fort. They would have to live near Qutub Minar instead. Subsequently, in 1856, Lord Canning announced that the successors of Bahadur Shah would not be allowed to use the titles of Mughal rulers. All this created resentment against the British and all the Mughals. Ill treatment of Nana Sahib. Nana Sahib was the adopted son of Peshwa Balaji Bajirao. His pension was also stopped, which created anger in Nana Sahib. Subsidiary alliance, which it was introduced by Lord Wellesley. Subsidiary alliance means all those who have entered into such an alliance with the British had to accept certain terms and conditions, such as the ruler had to disband their military force, allow the British to position their troops within the kingdom, and act in accordance with the advice of the British resident, who was now to be attached to the court. Absence of sovereign. There was absolute absence of the sovereign power. Britishers were ruling India from England, and Indians, they could not express their resentment at all. India was being ruled by a monarch who lived thousands of miles away. Every other conqueror who had come to India settled here and had become a part of the Indian culture. This was not true of the British. The rulers ruled through their officers, and the revenue collected from India was transferred to the mother country. Now I will come to the economic causes. In economic causes, the most important is the drain of wealth. After the Battle of Buxar, which was fought in year 1765, the East India Company, British East India Company, received the Diwani, or the right to collect revenue from Bihar and Bengal. The revenue was invested in purchasing articles which were brought at extremely low rates and exported from India to England. It has been estimated that the total drain of wealth from Bengal to England during 1757 to 1780 amounted to 38 million pounds sterling. This heavy drain must have greatly impoverished the province and crippled its capital wealth to the serious detriment of its trade and industry. So this was drain of wealth. Economic exploitation. The 18th, 19th century was the phase of industrial revolution in Europe, particularly in England. Factories needed raw materials as well as cheap consumer markets. India provided both cheap raw material and a huge market for the British to sell their products. In short, agricultural India was made the economic colony of the industrial England. Then there was decay of cottage industries because of the machine-made goods. The British imposed heavy duty on Indian silk and cotton textiles imported into England, but goods from England were imported into India at a nominal duty. By the mid-19th century, export of cotton and silk goods from India ceased. The cottage industry got a further blow when their erstwhile patrons, Rajas, Jamindars and Nawabs gradually came under the company's territory. Impoverishment of artisans and craftsmen, they suffered a lot through the hands of the Britishers. After the Industrial Revolution in England, the local handloom industry was adversely affected. Indian weavers and craftsmen could not compete with the machine-made goods imported from England. Further, the company used its political power to purchase finest quality of cotton from the farmers, leaving little for the Indian weavers. So gradually the result was that Indian handicrafts and the cottage industry died out. Then company, they had their monopoly over trade and commerce. And there was impoverishment of peasantry. The Land Revenue Administration of the company had given the right of land ownership to zamindars. Cultivators had lost their hereditary rights to plots of land. Moreover, land revenue was raised again and again, leading to the impoverishment of the peasants, which led to their miserable condition. Then there was growing unemployment in the country. Thousands of soldiers who were employed by the native Indian rulers lost their jobs once these states were annexed by the British government. As many as 60,000 soldiers lost their jobs once the army of the Nawabs of Awadh was disbanded. Then there was growing poverty in the country because of the famines. The shift in policy from the use of farmland for growing food crops to more and more cash crops like cotton, indigo, jute resulted in decline in production of food grains. Moreover, conditions of drought and famine in the country added to the misery of the farmers. So these were the economic causes which led to the unrest among the Indian masses. There were some social and religious causes also which led to the outbreak of this mutiny, which also were very, very important. Activities of Christian missionaries. Indians were apprehensive that they would be converted to Christianity as the teaching of Christian doctrines was made compulsory in the schools set up by the Christian missionaries. The English established churches for the propagation of Christianity. Moreover, the British began to interfere with the religious and the social customs of the people. Interference with some of the social customs. Some of the social reforms carried out by the British were aimed at the upliftment of the Indians. Their aim was upliftment of the Indians. But these intentions were misunderstood by the Indians, especially by the conservative section of the society, who took it as interference in their religious affair. In 1929, sati, or the practice of widows being burnt on their husband's funeral pyres, it was abolished. In 1850, an act was announced which allowed converts from Hinduism to Christianity to inherit ancestral property. In 1856, an act was promulgated which allowed the upper caste Hindus, widows to remarry. So all these acts created unrest among the conservative section of the society. Then there were some apprehensions about Western innovations which were made during those times. The introduction of modern innovations such as the railways and telegraph was misunderstood by the people. The introduction of the railways was resented on the grounds that people of all castes would have to travel in the same compartment. Upper caste Indians did not like this idea and these changes and looked upon these as interference in their social traditions. Then, policy of racial arrogance and discrimination. Britishers always thought themselves to be racially superior to that of Indians. Educated Indians were denied appointments to high posts. The highest office appointed to an Indian in the civil service was that of an Amin or Sadr. In every field, the British believed that they were superior to the Indians. Then fears regarding English education. There were some fears regarding English education also. Why? Because English was made the medium of instruction. Then further alienated the masses from the Britishers. They started taxing the religious places of Indians. Previous rulers who ruled over India had exempted taxes to be levied on religious places of both Hindus and Muslims. Both the British decided to tax the lands belonging to the mosques and the temples, again which further was resented by the people. Then the General Service Enlistment Act, passed in the year 1856, contained the provisions that mandated soldiers or recruits of the Bengal Army to serve within or outside when ordered. It meant that they were to send overseas and sea voyages to serve. The Bengal Army mainly consisted of high caste Hindus and, according to their faith, believed that they could lose their religion and faith if they crossed the sea. This led to the sepoys to think that the company was trying to defame their religion, which again became very important military as well as the socio-religious cause for the outbreak of the revolt of 1857. Now let us come to the military causes. Indian soldiers, they meted out ill treatment. They who formed majority of the company's army had helped the British to establish their empire in India were not treated well by the Britishers. Then there were very bleak, very less prospect chances of the promotions of the soldiers. The highest rank given to the Indian soldiers was of a Subedar. All high posts were reserved for the British soldiers. Not only that, they were deprived of their foreign service allowances also, which created resentment in the minds of the soldiers against the Britishers. Then the General Service Enlistment Act, which I have already explained you. The immediate cause, which was the greased cartridges. In 1856, the British introduced a new model of the Enfield rifles in place of the old iron-made Brown Bess guns. The cartridges of the Enfield rifle were greased with the fat of cows and pigs. The covers had to be bitten off before loading them into the rifles. Both the Hindus and Muslim sepoys who refused to use these cartridges were punished. The soldiers felt that the British were defiling and humiliating their religions. This episode was enough to start a revolt in the army. So this was the immediate cause of the outbreak of the revolt of 1857. Students, have today finished the causes of the revolt of 1857. In next video, I will start with the consequences of the revolt to 1857. Stay tuned.